Alright guys, welcome to another episode of TuneNgoon. Today, Nate and I are doing a 1,000 subscriber special, and we're doing 5 items that we should bring, or that you should bring along with you on your off-roading trip. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start off with my number 5. I'll go lowest priority to highest priority. So, my first one is going to be zip ties.
Zip ties are good.
Yep.
They save a lot.
They do. So the reason I chose zip ties is because you can pick up zip ties from anywhere, like from like $5 all the way to like 25 or 30 bucks. You know, you can get the one with the metal, the little metal locks in them, and they're the better quality.
We suggest to get those only.
Yeah, those are the best ones. But you can fix a ton of different stuff with zip ties, and these are just, you know, just basic 40-pound rated zip ties. But if you add a bunch of them together, you can fix all kinds of stuff. I mean, even if you had like a U-joint failure or something like that, potentially you could somehow, you know, zip a bunch of these together around a U-joint cup or something like that.
Just to hold the joint down.
Yeah.
That's all you need is something.
Exactly.
Or let's say you got wires hanging down loose, or you discovered wires are loose, just zip tie them up.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Tools, if you have tools bouncing around.
Yeah.
They're good for like wrenches.
Yep.
All the closed-end wrenches, just zip tie them all together so you hold your wrenches together.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of versatile ways to use zip ties.
So that's going to be my number 5.
That is a great choice for 5. Again,
Yeah.
I carry zip ties in my truck all the time because you never know when you need them, or you got to lend them out to somebody.
Yep. Someone always needs zip ties for something.
So I would say my number 5 would be tire chains. Now, why I said number 5 for these is that they're great for half the year, and the other half the year they don't do anything for you.
Yep.
So, and then also you don't need to have tire chains to go snow wheeling. This is just something to aid you in traction, really.
Yeah.
So that's why I choose it. They do a fantastic job in the snow. Obviously, their chains, they dig really well. But also, there can be a drawback with them. Putting them on, as we know, could be a headache. They can come off and get wrapped around things, but
absolutely, yeah. It's you run the potential of damaging. If you don't put them on right, you could damage things like your brake lines, your e-brake cables, a bunch of stuff like that. So,
but they're a great tool to have if you really need them by yourself and you have to get out of a sticky situation. They potentially might be able to help you. So that's why, for me, tire chains are 5.
Yeah, I think that's a great option. Oh man, this is a tough one. I'll put this as my number 4 because my other one I want to save. But my number 4 is going to be a radio. Now, there's a ton of different options out there. There's things like FRS radios, which is like your standard walkie-talkie, and then there's stuff like these, which this is probably, I think this is your radio because I didn't bring mine with me, but I think this is a GMRS radio, and with that, you're technically, per the FCC, you're supposed to have a license to use them, but in an emergency situation or when you don't have cell service or you're going out with a group, radios are a huge like asset to have to, you know, to potentially save you from something that could be really dangerous or life-threatening, or just, you know, just hey, I'm stopping to do this, you know, wait up for a second, because we're not going to pull out our phones and try and call someone, and most of the time we don't have service, so it's like a radio is like absolutely a number 4 for me because there's just so many different uses to, you know, save you or just help you. There's a ton of options. So radio is my number 4 for sure.
Radios are great. Yeah, a lot of people do have CB radios as well.
Yeah.
But as CB radios, you got to wire it into your truck, put up the antenna. This is just handheld, simple, easy, pick it up, talk and go. You don't have to worry about anything missing in your truck. That's a really good tool to have.
Yeah, I agree. What's your number 4, man?
Okay, my number 4. It is pretty simple.
No. Is that a mud flap? It looks like a mud flap.
Or is it a?
It's a life vest, dude. This guy's
it's a bib.
Okay, it's a bib. So this is for when you eat pizza.
Now this is for winch line, for specifically cable ropes on your winches. If you have a winch on your truck, you gotta have something on the line when you winch off of something.
Yeah.
If the line breaks on you, the line stores a lot of energy, and the lines will whip around. Yep. So you put this, you could, you know, put a shirt on it, a pair of jeans, something that would just weight the line down. If it breaks, it just falls, and that's what this is for. So it's a good safety thing to have in your truck. And also rope lines. I've seen people put them on rope lines, but rope lines, they just fall, luckily.
Yeah.
But it's still just one of those good safety practices to hold, because you don't think of it, but if something were to happen to you and the line breaks, you're on the mountains.
Yeah.
There's no one around to really help you. It's a good safety thing to have. That's why it's my number 4 for kind of a safety thing. But you know, I got more important things I feel like over here.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good one. I think having that could, you know, definitely benefit you and bring that safety factor, you know, up a little bit so you don't get hurt out there on the trail, because that's the last thing you want. And then, so with that being said, my number 3 is going to be tire plugs. Guys, I cannot stress enough how important tire plugs are, because I've been out with him and there have been situations where, like, you can even get a hole in your sidewall, and if you put enough plugs in there, you might still be able to get through the day, and you could just never have enough of these things. I always like to buy a plug kit, and these things are anywhere from, like, you know, 20, or like you can get it for like $10 on Amazon, all the way from like $35. It just depends. I like to buy kind of the medium priced ones, just because I don't want junk, but I don't want, you know, just some crazy expensive one because it's got some name brand on it. Usually it's all the same stuff, but the ways these things work is when you get a hole, let's say you get a small puncture, a nail size puncture, whatever, all you do is you hone it out with this, it's essentially like a drill bit, but you hone out the hole, and then you put some of this rubber cement on it, and then you press a plug into the tire and pull it out. And that could potentially mean you being stuck on a trail and being stuck overnight versus, you know, getting home, getting to your family, kids, whatever. So tire plugs is definitely going to be my number 3.
Yeah, those are great. We've actually even patched sidewalls. There was a big gash in the sidewall. We shoved a bunch of plugs in there. It was not on our trucks. It was just someone on the trail with us, and they asked us for plugs, and we had plugs, shoved it full of plugs. Air in it, and it held just enough for them to get down. So that is definitely important to have. Yeah,
plugs. Like, I almost would say that'd be my number 2, but I have some other stuff that I like too. So let's see what you got.
All right. So then my next thing, kind of these two go together.
Oh.
It goes along more with the recovery stuff.
Wait, hold on. Is that a septum piercing?
Man, that.
Yeah, dude, that's what all the girls like nowadays, is the septum piercings.
No. I had it upside down. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Like this.
Yeah, so guys, bring a septum piercing when you go off-roading, because it has a lot of usage.
It can hold a lot of weight too.
So what is this stuff, and what is it for?
This is a D-ring used for recovery, typically. Hopefully there's a recovery point on your truck or on your vehicle. You can run this through the hole on the chassis, the pin. Put the pin through it, hold it on, and you can hook onto here with a recovery rope. If you're using a snatch block, you can kind of hook onto here like this if you want to. There's many ways to use a D-ring, and really you should be carrying multiples of these in your truck, because you got to stack them up and use them in many different fashions. Yeah, and there's a ton of ways you can rig up things when you have multiple D-rings, because you know, you want to go to a tree and then you want to loop to something else, or you need to pull your vehicle a certain way. Say you're kind of sliding down a cliff or something and you want to pull your vehicle up. D-rings could make or break you in that situation. And the reason why I put these together is if you have a D-ring with a synthetic rope, you can use the D-ring as a snatch block. But if you have a cable rope, I didn't think of that. You cannot, run a cable through this. It'll chew each other up. You have to use a snatch block like this. Run the cable through here, close it up, and then you can snatch off of this. But with a rope, you can snatch off of this. And for the people that may not know what a snatch block does, can you explain to them exactly what that does? So essentially, since we got this over here, if this is your vehicle, and you, the front end has slid off the trail, this is the trail, and your front end slid off this way, but you can't winch yourself up because there's nothing to pull up over here. You can snatch off of a tree from here, this, hook it onto the tree with a tree strap, and then snatch from your vehicle around to itself, so it pulls up the corner specifically, because if you winched forward, you might go down off the cliff. Yeah, and I think there's also a mechanical advantage, because if you route this a certain way, like over and around a tree and back to your vehicle, I think you get twice the pulling power, which is insane. So you could use a 6,000 pound winch and have 12,000 pounds of pulling power, as long as your line can handle that. Correct. Okay. If you wanted to snap straight off, or somebody's stuck in the snow, heavily stuck, and you're anchored really well, you can snap straight off of them, and that will increase your pulling power, as long as you can hold yourself still. Yeah, I think that's a great choice. So that's why I put those two together for my third. Ooh. What's your second? Alrighty, my number 2. I got 2 options here, different price points. So this is a Milwaukee portable inflator. So this one's battery driven. These things are amazing because most of us aren't going to have onboard air. A lot of us don't have tanks. We don't carry around compressors with us. And vehicles nowadays, they might come with a spare tire and the stuff to change that tire, but
they're not coming with air pumps for the most part. I know some of the newer vehicles are coming out with no donut, and instead they give you, it's like a cheap pump, but it has a quick fix in it, I think.
It's like slime juices in there. It pumps it up with air and slime juice, hopefully enough to seal the plug so you can get out of there.
Yeah, which in my opinion, that's terrible, but I like bringing an inflator because you can go out on the trail and you can, one of the biggest, things you can do to get really good traction and get up, to where you need to go is lower your tires. And if you lower your tires and you're like, oh, I got to go to a gas station and fill up my tires. Well, with one of these, you can fill them up or lower them on the trail. You wouldn't lower it with this, but you could fill them up after you lower them. So this is super useful to have. This one's a little expensive. I mean, just for the tool itself on this, it's running like $150 or something like that. And then the battery's probably another $100. But you can go on Amazon and you can save some money and just get something like this, which is just a 12-volt, cigarette lighter powered inflator, and it's not amazing or anything, but it does the job. And what's nice about both of these is you can actually just set the pressure, connect it to the tire, and forget about it. So say your tire's flat and you just fixed, you just did a tire repair, and you go, okay, I want to put them at 20 pounds, and you just plug this, put 20 pounds in, leave it, and then you walk back when you're ready. You take a lunch break or whatever, and it's at 20 pounds. So inflator is going to be my number 2. That's something I always like to keep on my truck. It's kind of like an EDC. Even when I'm not off-roading, I think it's a great tool to have. So
yeah, those are fantastic to have. And especially, yes, like you said, that might be a lot of money there, but to put on onboard air on your vehicle, it is a lot of headache, a lot of work, and a lot of money invested into it. Honestly, I run one of those around too.
Yeah, and especially when you talk like ARB and all those companies that have the very expensive pumps, then you got to have your tank and then your wiring. It's just it's a lot of stuff. So unless you have like a dedicated rig that you're crawling with and stuff, maybe it makes more sense. But just for the everyday guy, something like this is going to be a really good choice.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. My number 2 thing, pretty self-explanatory, but not many people carry. It is an emergency kit. Just full of bandages, band-aids, burn stuff. I mean,
nice.
Full of all kinds. I mean, if you're working on your truck, you burn your arm. You gotta put something on it, and there's jumper cables inside.
Oh yeah, and flares.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. Hey,
so,
look,
zip ties. I got zip
ties in here. All right.
There's flares in there. It just comes in a kit. Tape to tape on your broken lamps when you break them. Jumper cables, because sometimes when you're out there, it's happened to me where I didn't realize that my battery was dying on me. And or no, correction, it was the alternator that was giving out. I did not realize it, so the battery drained down. Had to use this to jump the vehicle and charge it off as something else. Use their alternator to charge my battery so I can keep on going. It was a disaster, but we got going. And then also there is some tools, gloves, and some medical things in here for just simple first aid. Basically, it's needed out there on the trail. It really is.
Yeah, and the cool thing about something like this is you don't necessarily have to buy a kit. You could potentially build your own at home, which is a good choice because you could, get a small kit like this, take out the stuff you don't need, the stuff that's ridiculous, and put in, a pair of gloves. Like I see a pair of gloves in there. Jumper cables, absolutely a great option. Flares, there's road flares. You never know what situation you're going to get into, and that could potentially, really save your butt out there. So I really like that kit. I think that's a good idea.
Just something simple you throw up under your seat. You're like, oh, if you need something, hopefully you have it. You look in there and you have it. And it has saved me a few times. The jumper cables in this thing, the tape, and the gloves. I've had to replace them.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that one. I think it's good. That's going to bring me to my
number one. What is it?
You probably guessed it. It is a tow rope.
Very good.
So tow ropes, I mean, do I really need to say much? It's pretty obvious. Whenever you're out there, especially by yourself, you may be by yourself, but there might be other people on the trail, and we always go out there and we run into things we don't expect. That's just how off-roading goes. And a tow rope, that's a huge asset to keep on your vehicle because, so you think you're stuck by yourself and you have a tow rope, and they come along and they could, save you and get you out of that situation. But yeah, and the price range on tow ropes is insane too. I mean, you can get one for, $20 from Harbor Freight, or you can spend a little more and get you go to another store. There's name brands like Yankum rope and stuff. So these range from all the way like $20 all the way like $200. If you want to get some massive synthetic rope that has the stretch to it, so you're not yanking on stuff, that's fine. You can also use chains. I try to advise against chains just because they're so aggressive when you're pulling people. And you can rip off bumpers and break things, and they can, come back with all that that energy and hit your windshield. It could be dangerous. So I think this is I can't remember where I got this. I think this was Home Depot, and I think it was on around $35, and it's a 7,000 pound working load, and then I think it has a 20,000 pound brake strength. So it's like a 4-inch wide. You know, it's pretty thin, not super thick, but it still provides a little bit of stretch, so you're not absolutely beating on something. And I have had to use it quite a few times because, you know, I've been stuck plenty of times. So yeah, that's going to be my number one, absolutely. So
yeah, I carry a tow rope and raggedy end all the time. It is used, at least every time I go on out, it's used once as a winch extension to pull somebody out. Let's say if somebody has a flat tire on a hill, you hook up a rope for their truck, back up, you just support the vehicle so it doesn't fall. I mean, there's endless uses for a tow rope, and we use them all the time. Another cool thing that you mentioned too is if you have a tow rope, so this is a 30-footer, I'd recommend 30 foot for your baseline. I think 30 foot's a really good length because you can get out a lot of situations with that. But if you have a winch already on your vehicle and then you get a 30-foot tow rope, you can use it as an extension to your winch, and if there's a tree that's, you know, really far away, you know, that could be, you know, the difference between you getting unstuck or being stuck the whole time. So huge deal.
Yeah,
that is a great one. All right, my number one.
Your number one.
It is not very big.
Okay.
So don't be surprised.
Is it average?
Hopefully it'll surprise you. Flashlights.
Oh no, these are tow rope, dude. That's way smaller than mine.
Flashlights. Okay. Simple headlamp and a flashlight is to use, because multiple times I've been out on a trail and you start out at 10 in the morning, the next thing you know, it gets dark in the wintertime early and you're out of light. You know, you're trying to walk around, find a tree, find something you dropped on the ground, and you're going to need a headlamp just to have one on so you can see where you're going and what you're doing. And then let's just say the truck breaks down. You're going to need a headlamp to work on it, or a flashlight to work on it. It's just these two items I carry all the time, and I use them all the time. Since I tow this everywhere, I always need a headlamp to put the truck on the trailer, strap it down, helping somebody else on their truck, or even during the day working up under if the transmission's got to come out. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I use headlamps all the time, everywhere I go, on wheeling trips. Ultimately, there isn't much more I can say besides I need them all the time. Yeah, well, the biggest thing is you need both your hands most of the time when you're doing things, you know? So having a hands-free lighting device is like, you know, it's awesome because you can focus on what you're doing, you know, don't drop nuts or bolts because you have both your hands to focus on the task that you're doing. Whereas like a handheld flashlight, you know, you might, if you're by yourself especially, it's like you're trying to undo a bolt and see what you're doing. It's just a mess. So, you know, having something that's hands-free is pretty awesome. Yeah, they really are. It's something, I know it's simple and funny, you don't think about it, but you only think about it when it gets dark, honestly. Yeah. Yeah, you need it. You need it when you really need it, but when you don't need it, it's just in your truck. Lights on our phone, they just don't do the job. No, they really don't. You think that you might have a flashlight, but you'd need a headlamp and a flashlight, at least something to see. Yeah. It really makes a difference at night when you're like, crap, it's 10 o'clock. I agree. All right, guys. Well, this is our top 5 things that we suggest bringing with you when you go off-roading. Thank you for watching another episode of TuneNgoon, and we will see you next time. Thank you. See ya.